You are already enough, and you always have been. The problem is not that you lack something. The problem is that you have been taught to look for your worth in the wrong place, in achievements that fade, in others' approval that shifts like wind, in possessions that can be taken from you in a single afternoon. What makes you worthy is not what you do, what you own, or what others think of you. It is something that cannot be taken, cannot be diminished, cannot be lost. It is the one thing that separates you from every other creature on earth, and you have had it since the first moment you could reason and choose. Let me show you what I mean. By the end of our time together, you will understand something that most people never grasp in an entire lifetime. You already possess everything you need to be worthy, not someday when you achieve more. Not when you finally fix yourself, but right now, in this very moment. You will learn why every time you say, "I am not enough," you are making a fundamental error about the nature of worth itself. You are looking for value in things that cannot give it to you, in wealth that can vanish, in beauty that fades, in others' opinions that shift with every wind, in achievements that will be forgotten. I will show you the one thing that actually makes you valuable, the one thing that cannot be taken from you, the one thing that is equal in a slave and in an emperor. This is not philosophy for philosophers. This is practical wisdom for living with peace. Right now, you wake up feeling you must prove yourself. You must work harder, achieve more, look better, be smarter, earn more approval. You are exhausted. You feel like a fraud. You apologize for existing. You compare yourself to others and always find yourself lacking. Every success feels temporary. Every failure confirms what you feared, that you are simply not enough. You have tried to fix this. You have achieved things, yet the feeling returns. You have improved yourself, yet you still feel inadequate. You have earned praise, yet you doubt it. The reason none of these things worked is simple. You have been trying to cure a philosophical error with achievements. It is like trying to heal a broken bone by changing your clothes. I do not offer you strategies for success. I do not tell you how to achieve more or become better. Instead, I reveal to you what you already are. I show you that the worth you seek outside yourself has lived within you all along, waiting for you to recognize it. This is not modern thinking. This is ancient wisdom that has freed countless minds from the prison of inadequacy. It worked when I was alive 2,000 years ago, and it works now because human nature has not changed. The capacity that made people valuable then is the same capacity that makes you valuable today. Most voices tell you that you can become enough if you work hard enough, achieve enough, improve enough. I tell you that you already are enough, and that trying to become enough is precisely what keeps you from seeing this truth. I do not give you a ladder to climb. I show you that you are already standing on solid ground, and the ladder was always an illusion. Let me tell you what I have witnessed in my years. These are not fables. These are observations of human beings who discovered what you are about to discover, or who remained blind to it until death. Pay attention to what separates those who found peace from those who died restless. I once dined with a man whose wealth could ransom kingdoms. His floors were marble, his cups were gold, his servants were more numerous than some villages. As we ate, he asked me, "How can I feel so empty when I have everything?" I asked him what he thought he possessed. He listed his estates, his investments, his political connections, the respect of powerful men. I asked, "But what do you possess that cannot be taken from you?" He fell silent. He stared at his golden cup for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Nothing. I possess nothing that is truly mine. Everything I have can be seized by the emperor tomorrow. Everything depends on forces outside my control. This man understood his poverty in the midst of plenty. A week later, fortune turned against him. False accusations reached the emperor. Someone wanted his estates and knew how to whisper the right lies in the right ears. Within a month, everything was seized. The marble halls, the golden cups, the faithful servants who suddenly served a new master. His so-called friends vanished like morning mist. He stood in my modest home with only the clothes on his back, and I will tell you what he said to me. He said, "I feel no different than I did when I had everything. I thought losing it all would destroy me. I thought I would not be able to bear it. But I am still here. I am still myself. The strange thing is, I feel lighter somehow, as if I had been carrying something heavy and finally set it down." He discovered what the loss revealed. His worth was never in what he owned. It could not have been, because it remained when the possessions vanished. What he was searching for in his wealth, he had possessed all along in his capacity to think, to choose, to reason about his life. He had been looking in the wrong place, like a man searching for his glasses while wearing them. External things cannot give you worth because they are not permanent parts of you. Your rational capacity, your ability to observe, to judge, to choose, this is permanent. This is what makes you valuable. On that same island where I was exiled, I met a slave named Marcus. He belonged to a cruel master who beat him regularly, who fed him scraps, who worked him until his hands bled and his back bent. By every external measure, Marcus had nothing. No freedom, no property, no comfort, no respect. Society treated him as less than human, as a tool that could speak. Yet when I spoke with him during his brief moments of rest, I found a man more peaceful than most senators I had known in Rome. I asked him once, "How do you endure this? How do you wake each day to this life and not despair?" He looked at me with eyes that were tired but clear, and he said something I have never forgotten. He said, "My master owns my body, but he cannot touch what makes me who I am. He can force my hands to work, but he cannot force my mind to despise itself. He can take my comfort, but he cannot take my ability to choose how I meet each moment. He can beat this body, but he cannot make me hate myself or lose my reason. In this way, I am more free than he is, because I know what actually belongs to me. He thinks he owns me, but he only owns my circumstances. I own myself." Marcus understood what his master did not. His master thought he owned something valuable: Marcus's labor, Marcus's body, Marcus's time. But what is truly valuable in a human being cannot be owned by another. It can only be surrendered, and Marcus refused to surrender it. His master could control his circumstances, but Marcus controlled his responses, his judgments, his inner assent to or rejection of what happened to him. In this, he was free. If your worth depended on external freedom, status, or comfort, then slaves would have no worth. But we know this is false. We know that a slave can be more worthy than a king if the slave possesses wisdom and the king does not. Therefore, worth must come from something internal, your capacity for thought, choice, and moral reasoning. Years later, Marcus was freed by his master's death. The man had no heirs, and his estate was dissolved. When I saw Marcus again, I asked him if freedom felt different. He smiled and said, "My circumstances improved, and for this I am grateful. I prefer to sleep in a bed than on the floor. I prefer to eat at a table than from a trough, but I was already free before the chains came off." The chains never bound what mattered. He lived 20 more years as a freedman, working as a carpenter. He never became wealthy or famous, but he died at peace, which is more than I can say for most men of wealth and fame I have known. I once observed a young woman in the marketplace who was selling bread. She was not beautiful by conventional standards. Her face was marked by illness from childhood. Her clothes were plain and mended many times. Her station was humble. I watched as customers passed her by, some with barely concealed disdain, choosing instead the bread from younger, prettier sellers, even though I could see that her bread was better made. The other sellers had learned to smile in a certain way, to arrange their hair, to use their appearance to attract buyers. She simply stood there, patient, waiting. I approached and bought from her. The bread was excellent. As she gave me change, I said, "Tell me, does it hurt when they look past you?" She met my eyes directly, without shame or anger, and said, "It used to. When I was younger, I thought their seeing me gave me value. I thought if I was not noticed, if I was not chosen, it meant I was worthless. But then I realized something. Their attention adds nothing to me, and their neglect takes nothing away. I know my bread is good. I know I treat my customers fairly. I know I care for my aging mother with devotion. I know I am honest in my measures and my prices. These things are true whether anyone notices them or not. Let them buy from whomever pleases their eyes. My worth is not for sale at this market stall." This young woman, with no education in philosophy, had grasped what eludes most scholars. Approval is not the source of worth. It is merely the recognition of worth by those wise enough to see it. And even without recognition, the worth remains. A diamond has value whether or not anyone finds it in the earth. External validation cannot create worth. It can only acknowledge it. If you believe others' opinions give you value, then your worth rises and falls with their changing moods. This is a prison. True worth is independent of observation. Let me be honest about my own journey. There was a time when I too measured my worth by external markers. I was a senator, an advisor to emperors, a man of influence and wealth. Important people sought my counsel. My words carried weight in the halls of power. I believed these things proved my value. I believed they showed I was more than others who lacked them. I looked at the common people and thought, I have risen above them. I have achieved something they have not. Then came exile. The Emperor Claudius banished me to Corsica, a barren island where I had nothing, no influence, no comfort, no audience for my wisdom. I remember the first weeks of despair, feeling that my life had lost all meaning. If I could not serve in the Senate, if I could not advise emperors, if I could not influence events in Rome, what was I? I felt I had become nothing. I would wake in the morning and think, what is the purpose of this day? No one here cares about philosophy. No one here needs my advice. I am useless, but in that nothingness, I discovered everything. Alone with my thoughts, with nothing external to define me, I was forced to examine what remained when everything was stripped away. And what remained was this. I could still observe the sunrise. I could still reason about the nature of things. I could still choose how to face each day. I could study nature, question existence, cultivate virtue in my character. I could write, even if no one would read it. I could think, even if no one would hear my thoughts. No emperor could take these from me. No circumstance could diminish them. I realized that my worth in Rome and my worth in exile were identical, because worth is not made of circumstances, it is made of the rational soul's capacity to meet whatever circumstances arise. The senator and the exile were equally human, equally capable of virtue, equally possessed of that divine spark of reason. The senator had more comfortable circumstances in which to exercise his reason. The exile had harsher circumstances. But the capacity itself was the same. And it is the capacity that matters. When I returned from exile years later, I was wealthier and more powerful than before. I became advisor to a new emperor. I had more influence than I had ever had. But I was not more worthy. I had not become more valuable as a human being. I had simply been given better circumstances in which to exercise the same rational capacity I possessed on that barren island. This is my testimony. Worth is invariant across circumstances. It cannot increase or decrease based on external conditions because it is located in something unchanging, your rational nature. Now I ask you to imagine something. Imagine you lose your job tomorrow. Does your worth decrease? Think about this carefully. You lose your income, your title, your professional identity. Does this make you less valuable as a human being, or does it simply mean your circumstances have changed while you remain the same person with the same capacity to think, choose, and act with wisdom? Imagine your appearance changes. Age, illness, injury. Does your worth diminish? Or do these external changes leave untouched the internal capacity that makes you valuable? Imagine everyone you know turns against you. They speak ill of you, they abandon you, they want nothing to do with you. Does your worth vanish? Or does it remain intact because it never depended on their recognition? If you answer yes to any of these, if you believe these changes would make you less worthy, then you have placed your worth in the wrong location. You have built your sense of value on sand, and you will never feel secure because sand shifts. Every wind of fortune will threaten you. Every loss will feel like a loss of self. But if you recognize that the capacity to observe these changes, to reason about them, to choose how you respond to them, if you see that this capacity is what makes you valuable, and that this capacity remains unchanged regardless of circumstances, then you have found solid ground. You stand on rock, not sand. Nothing can shake you because your worth is in something that cannot be taken. I have met beggars worth more than kings because they understood this. I have met kings worth less than beggars because they did not. Worth is not determined by what you have, but by what you are, a reasoning being capable of virtue. These stories share a common thread. Those who suffered least were those who understood where true worth lies. They did not depend on fortune for their value. They knew that what makes a human being worthy is something that fortune cannot touch. The capacity for reason, for choice, for virtue. Let me now explain this principle more fully, so you grasp not just the examples, but the logic itself. Most people make the same mistake. They believe their worth comes from sources outside themselves. They think they become valuable through achievements, through others' approval, through possessions, through status, through appearance. This is a philosophical error with devastating practical consequences. Consider what this means. If your worth comes from your wealth, then you become worthless the moment your wealth is lost. And wealth can be lost, investments fail, businesses collapse, thieves steal, governments confiscate. If it can be lost, and your worth is in it, then your worth is always at risk. If your worth comes from beauty, you lose value each day as beauty fades. And beauty does fade. Time is relentless. Illness comes. Injury happens. Age advances. You will spend your life watching your supposed worth slip away, knowing you cannot stop it. If your worth comes from others' opinions, you become a puppet dancing to the strings of every passerby's mood. Today they praise you, tomorrow they condemn you. Their opinions change based on their own interests, their own moods, their own misunderstandings. You will exhaust yourself trying to please everyone and end up pleasing no one, least of all yourself. You will exhaust yourself trying to maintain these fragile sources of worth, and you will never feel secure because you know, deep down, that they can all be taken from you. This is why so many successful people feel empty. They climbed the mountain, gained the achievement, earned the recognition, and discovered it did not fill them, because they were looking for something these things cannot provide. They were trying to quench thirst by eating sand. The error is this: confusing what is preferable with what is valuable in itself. Yes, health is preferable to sickness. I would rather be healthy. Wealth is preferable to poverty. I would rather have resources. Approval is preferable to scorn. I would rather be understood than misunderstood. But preferable does not mean essential to your worth. The moon's reflection on water is preferable to sea. It is beautiful, but the moon's value does not depend on whether water is present to reflect it. The moon shines whether or not anyone sees its reflection. Your worth is like the moon. It exists and shines whether or not circumstances reflect it back to you. The reflection is pleasant, but not necessary. You remain valuable in poverty as in wealth, in obscurity as in fame, in rejection as in acceptance, because your value never lived in these external conditions. It lived in you. Worth cannot come from what can be taken away. If it could be taken, it was never truly yours. What cannot be taken from you is your rational nature, your capacity to observe, to reason, and to choose. This is the only stable ground for worth. Let me be precise about this, because precision matters when we discuss truth. What is it that makes you valuable? What distinguishes you from the animals, from the plants, from the stones? It is not your body. Animals have bodies, often stronger than yours. A horse is stronger. A bird can fly. A fish can breathe underwater. Your body is actually quite fragile compared to many animals. It is not your desires. Animals desire food and safety as you do. A dog desires food. A bird desires a nest. These desires are natural and good, but they are not unique to you. It is not your emotions. Animals feel fear and pleasure. A deer feels fear when it senses a predator. A cat feels pleasure when it lies in the sun. Emotions are part of being a living creature, but they do not separate you from other creatures. It is not even your ability to survive and thrive in the world. Plants do this admirably without consciousness at all. A tree grows toward sunlight, sends roots toward water, adapts to its environment, all without thinking. What makes you valuable, what makes you distinctly human, is your rational capacity. You can observe yourself observing. You can think about your thinking. You can question why you want what you want. You can choose to resist your impulses when reason shows they lead to harm. You can conceive of virtue and choose to cultivate it. You can find meaning in suffering. You can sacrifice present pleasure for future good. You can recognize moral truth and align your will with it. This capacity, this ability to step back from immediate circumstance and apply reasoning judgment, this is what the ancient philosophers called your rational nature, your divine spark, your highest faculty. It is what separates you from every other creature on earth. And here is the crucial point that you must grasp. Every human being possesses this capacity equally. A slave has the same rational capacity as an emperor. Their circumstances are vastly different. One lives in chains, one lives in a palace. But the essential capacity to reason, to choose, to cultivate wisdom, this is identical in both. A poor man has the same rational capacity as a rich man. One has resources, one does not. But both can think clearly, both can choose wisely, both can develop virtue. A sick person has the same rational capacity as a healthy person. One suffers in body, one is comfortable. but the mind's ability to reason remains intact unless disease damages the brain itself. Yes, their circumstances differ dramatically. Yes, some have advantages, others lack. I do not deny this. But the essential thing, the thing that makes them human and valuable, is identical in all of them. This is why worth is equal among all people, even though fortune is not. Fortune distributes her gifts unequally and capriciously. She gives wealth to some, poverty to others. She gives health to some, sickness to others. She gives beauty to some, plainness to others. But nature gives the rational capacity to all. You do not earn this capacity through achievement. You do not purchase it with wealth. You do not win it through competition. You possess it by virtue of being human. And this capacity, once developed through practice, becomes virtue. Virtue is reason perfected, the ability to consistently choose what is right, good, and wise, regardless of external pressures. This is the highest human good, not pleasure, not wealth, not fame, not power. These are all external and temporary. Virtue alone is internal and permanent. Virtue alone is fully within your control. So when I say you are enough, I mean this. You possess the rational capacity that is the source of all human worth. You may not have perfected this capacity into virtue. Few do. It takes a lifetime of practice. But you have it. You have the seed, even if the tree is not yet fully grown. And having it, you have everything necessary to be valuable. The rest is development, not acquisition. You are not trying to become worthy. You are trying to recognize and develop the worth you already possess. Worth equals rational capacity, equals universal human nature, equals equal in all people, equals cannot be gained or lost, equals already possessed. This is the logic. Follow it carefully because it frees you from the prison of inadequacy. Let me explain why external things are inadequate as sources of worth. This is not about despising wealth, health, or beauty. These things are preferable, and there is no shame in pursuing them reasonably. I am not telling you to live in poverty, or neglect your health, or ignore your appearance. But they cannot be the foundation of your worth, and here is why. First, external things are controlled by fortune, not by you. You can work hard and still be poor. Markets crash, businesses fail, employers make decisions beyond your control. You can eat well and exercise and still fall ill. Disease does not respect virtue. You can be kind and fair and still be slandered. People lie. Misunderstandings happen. Enemies invent stories. If your worth depends on these things, then your worth is in the hands of chance, not in your own hands. You become a helpless victim of circumstance, tossed by every wind of fortune. This is a miserable way to live, always anxious, always uncertain, always vulnerable. Second, external things are temporary. All wealth can be lost. Investments fail. Property burns. Thieves steal. All beauty fades. Age comes to everyone. Skin wrinkles, hair grays, bodies weaken. All status is eventually relinquished. You retire, or you are replaced, or you die. If your worth is in these things, then you are watching your worth slip away day by day, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. You will spend your life in fear of loss, never at peace, always grasping, always trying to hold on to what cannot be held. Third, external things can be taken by others. A thief can steal your possessions. A slanderer can damage your reputation. An enemy can destroy your position. A rival can take your job. If your worth is in these things, then every other person becomes a potential threat to your value. You will live in suspicion and anxiety, always wondering who might take from you, always guarding what you have, never able to rest. Fourth, and this is perhaps most important, external things never satisfy the deepest hunger. I have known countless people who gained every external thing they desired and still felt empty. The merchant who dreamed of wealth gained it and then felt hollow. The beautiful person who was admired by everyone and still felt unseen. The powerful person who commanded thousands and still felt insignificant. Why? Because what they were actually hungry for was internal. They wanted to feel worthy, significant, valuable in themselves. But external things cannot give this because the hunger is internal, and internal hunger requires internal food. What can give you lasting worth? Only what cannot be taken, cannot be lost, cannot be diminished by fortune, cannot fail to satisfy. And only one thing meets these criteria: your rational capacity cultivated into virtue, your ability to choose rightly, to reason clearly, to face circumstances with courage and wisdom. This is in your control. Fortune cannot touch it unless you surrender it. And developing this capacity does satisfy. This is why the Stoic philosophers said that virtue is the only true good. Not because other things have no value. They do. Health is valuable, wealth is valuable, friendship is valuable, but only virtue has intrinsic, stable, secure value that depends on nothing outside yourself. Only virtue can be the foundation of worth, because only virtue cannot be taken from you. External goods are preferred but not necessary for worth. Internal goods, virtue, reason, character, these are both preferred and necessary for worth, and they are in your control. This is the distinction you must grasp. When you say, "I am not enough," you are almost always comparing yourself to someone else. You are not rich enough, meaning not as rich as someone richer. Not attractive enough, meaning not as attractive as someone more beautiful. Not accomplished enough, meaning not as accomplished as someone more successful. Not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough, all measured against someone else. But comparison is a poison because it places your worth on a relative scale instead of recognizing it as an absolute reality. Let me explain the difference. On a relative scale, you are always measuring yourself against others. There is always someone richer. There is always someone more beautiful. There is always someone more accomplished. Always, no matter how high you climb. Therefore, on this scale, you can never be enough because enough keeps moving as you look at different comparison points. You climb the mountain only to see another mountain beyond it. You are on a treadmill that goes nowhere. But worth is not relative. It is absolute. You do not have worth in comparison to others. You have worth by virtue of your nature as a rational being. This worth does not increase or decrease based on how you compare to others. A poor man is not less worthy than a rich man. They have different amounts of money, but the same essential worth as human beings. A sick person is not less worthy than a healthy person. They have different physical conditions, but the same capacity for reason and virtue. They may be less fortunate, but not less worthy. When you understand this, comparison loses its sting. Yes, another person may have more wealth than you. This is merely a fact about fortune's distribution. It says nothing about your worth or theirs. Yes, another may be more accomplished. This is a fact about different lives, taking different paths, different opportunities, different choices. It does not diminish your value as a human being. I do not tell you to stop noticing differences. Differences are real. I tell you to stop using differences in external circumstances as evidence of differences in fundamental worth. The emperor and the slave are equally human, equally possessed of rational nature, equally capable of virtue, equally worthy. Their circumstances differ vastly. One is comfortable and powerful, one is miserable and powerless, but their essential worth is identical. The emperor has more external advantages, the slave has more external disadvantages, but advantages and disadvantages are not the same as worth. This is liberating. You are no longer in competition with every other human being for worth. You are not climbing over others to prove your value. You already have the same worth they have. You are simply living it in different circumstances. Your task is not to surpass others, but to develop your own rational capacity, regardless of where others stand. The race is not against them. The race, if we must call it that, is against your own ignorance and vice. Can you become wiser today than you were yesterday? Can you choose more virtuously today than you did yesterday? This is what matters. Comparison is a prison. Worth is not relative to others. It is absolute in your nature. Recognize this, and you are free. When you recognize that your worth is in your rational nature and not in external circumstances, something remarkable happens. You find peace, not the temporary peace that comes from pleasant circumstances, like a sunny day or a good meal, but the deep peace that remains stable regardless of circumstances. This is what the ancient philosophers called tranquility of mind. Why does this recognition bring peace? Because you are no longer at fortune's mercy. Fortune can take your wealth, but not your rational capacity. Fortune can damage your body, but not your ability to choose your response. Fortune can turn others against you, but not your commitment to virtue. When you know this, truly know it, not just intellectually but in your bones, you become unshakable. You are like a rock in the ocean. The waves crash against you, but you remain steady. This does not mean you become indifferent to circumstances. I am not telling you to stop caring what happens to you. You still prefer health to sickness. Of course you do. You still prefer wealth to poverty. Resources make life easier. You still prefer friendship to enmity. Human connection is natural and good. But you are no longer dependent on these things for your sense of worth. They are like weather. You prefer sunshine, but you are not diminished by rain. You adapt to whatever comes because your core worth remains constant. This is what I want you to understand. When you know your worth is internal and stable, you face all of life differently. Success does not intoxicate you. You are pleased by it, but not inflated by it. You know it is fortune's gift, not your essence. Failure does not crush you. You are disappointed by it, but not destroyed by it. You know it is fortune's withdrawal, not a judgment on your worth. Praise does not inflate you. You are grateful for recognition, but you do not need it to feel valuable. Criticism does not deflate you. You consider whether it is fair and useful, but you do not let it define your worth. You remain yourself through all changes of fortune, steady, rational, free. This is real strength, not the strength to control circumstances, which is often impossible, but the strength to remain worthy regardless of circumstances. This is what I have seen in people facing death, facing exile, facing ruin. When you know your worth is internal and secure, external losses cannot destroy you. You remain yourself through every change of fortune. You may lose comfort, but not peace. You may lose possessions, but not dignity. You may lose reputation, but not virtue. And here is the paradox. When you stop depending on external things for your worth, you often manage them better. You are not desperate, not grasping, not anxious. You make wiser choices because your judgment is not clouded by fear. You relate to others more healthily because you are not using them to prove your worth. You pursue goals with calm persistence because success does not make you worthy and failure does not make you worthless. You are free to act from wisdom rather than from need. Peace comes from recognizing worth as internal and stable. This recognition liberates you from dependence on fortune and enables you to face life with calm strength. Understanding these principles intellectually is not enough. You must practice recognizing your intrinsic worth daily until it becomes your natural way of seeing yourself. This is not easy because you have been conditioned since childhood to measure your worth by external markers. Your parents praised you for achievements, your teachers graded you, your peers judged you. Society rewards and punishes you constantly. All of this taught you that worth is something you earn or lose based on performance. Every day, you will be tempted to fall back into the old pattern. You will achieve something and feel your worth rise. You will fail at something and feel your worth fall. You will be praised and feel valuable. You will be criticized and feel worthless. These reactions are habits, grooves worn deep in your mind by years of repetition, and habits take time to change. You cannot simply decide to see yourself differently and have it be so. You must practice. The practice is simple but demanding. Whenever you notice yourself judging your worth by external measures, pause and return to the truth. Remind yourself, my worth is in my rational nature, which remains unchanged by this circumstance. I am no more or less valuable than I was yesterday, regardless of what happened today. This sounds simple. It is not. Your mind will resist. It will say, but I failed, but I was rejected, but I am not as good as that other person. Your mind will give you reasons why this particular circumstance really does affect your worth. You must gently correct it each time, bringing it back to the truth like leading a wandering child back to the path. When someone praises you, receive it graciously. Say thank you, but do not let it inflate your sense of worth. They have noticed something good in your actions or your character. That is pleasant, but it does not make you more valuable than you were before they noticed. When someone criticizes you, consider whether the criticism is fair and useful. If it is, learn from it. If it is not, disregard it. But either way, do not let it deflate your worth. Their opinions are external to you. They may be correct or incorrect about your actions, but they cannot be correct or incorrect about your fundamental worth, because that worth is a given, not something up for judgment. When you succeed at something, enjoy the success. Take pleasure in it, but do not believe it makes you more worthy. Success is a result of your actions meeting favorable circumstances. It is good, but it is not the source of your value. When you fail, learn from the failure. See what went wrong and how you might act differently next time. But do not believe it makes you less worthy. Failure is also a result of your actions meeting circumstances, often unfavorable circumstances or limitations in your knowledge or skill. These things can be improved, but they are not verdicts on your value as a human being. This practice is difficult because it goes against everything society teaches you. Society wants to motivate you through reward and punishment, praise and blame. It wants you to believe that worth must be earned, that you must prove yourself, that value is scarce and competitive. This keeps you working hard, striving constantly, never feeling secure. It serves society's purposes. It does not serve your peace, but you do not have to accept society's game. You can recognize it for what it is, a system of external incentives that has nothing to do with your true worth. You can participate in society, pursue goals, contribute value, without believing your worth depends on your success in doing so. You can work hard because you choose to work hard, because the work itself is good, because you want to develop your skills, not because you need to prove you are enough. You are already enough. The work is expression, not validation. This is freedom. This is peace. This is what it means to know you are enough. But knowing it requires daily practice of recognizing intrinsic worth until it gradually replaces the conditioned habit of measuring worth by external markers. Now let me give you specific practices you can use. These are not mere exercises. They are disciplines that the ancient Stoics used to cultivate wisdom and tranquility. I have used them myself. They work not by changing who you are, but by revealing who you already are, a being of intrinsic worth. Practice them daily, and over time, your understanding will move from your head to your heart. Each evening before sleep, review your day with these questions. This is not about judgment or shame. It is about honest observation. Ask yourself, where today did I measure my worth by external things? When did I feel more worthy because of praise, success, or comparison? When did I feel less worthy because of criticism, failure, or lack? Simply notice these moments without condemning yourself. You are learning to observe your own mind. Then ask, in those moments, what was actually happening? Did my rational capacity change? Did I lose the ability to think, choose, and reason? Did I become less human? The answer will always be no. You will see that your worth remained constant, even as your feelings about your worth fluctuated. Your feelings were responding to external events, but your actual worth was unchanged. Finally, remind yourself, today, whether I succeeded or failed, whether I was praised or criticized, I remained a rational being capable of virtue. This is enough. This has always been enough. Tomorrow I will practice recognizing this more quickly. Write these reflections if it helps you. Some people find that writing clarifies thinking. Others prefer simply to contemplate. Do what works for you. Over time, you will become more aware of when you are measuring your worth externally, and you will be able to correct the error in the moment rather than at day's end. This practice trains you to observe the gap between your constant worth and your fluctuating feelings about your worth. Awareness is the first step to change. Several times throughout your day, especially when you feel inadequate, do this brief exercise. It takes less than 1 minute. Ask yourself, if I lost everything external, my wealth, my position, my health, my relationships, my accomplishments, what would remain? The answer is your capacity to observe, to reason, to choose how you respond. This capacity is what makes you human and valuable. It cannot be taken unless you surrender it. Then say to yourself, this capacity is what makes me worthy. I possess it right now. I am enough. Do not just recite these words mechanically. Pause and actually feel them. Notice that this capacity is present in you at this very moment, regardless of your circumstances. You are exercising it right now by doing this practice, by thinking about it, by choosing whether to accept it. The proof of your worth is in the act of questioning your worth, because questioning requires the rational capacity that is the source of worth. This practice is especially powerful when you face rejection, failure, or criticism. In those moments, you are tempted to believe external judgment reveals your worth. This exercise reminds you that worth is internal, not external. This practice interrupts the automatic belief that external circumstances determine your worth, replacing it with recognition of your intrinsic rational nature. When you accomplish something or receive praise, practice this. Before you let yourself feel more worthy, ask, if this achievement had not happened, if this praise had not come, would I be less valuable as a human being? The honest answer is no. You would be equally human, equally possessed of rational capacity, equally capable of virtue. The achievement or praise is pleasant, but it is not necessary for your worth. When you experience failure or criticism, practice the reverse. Ask, has this failure made me less human? Has this criticism removed my rational capacity? Am I less capable of wisdom and virtue than I was before? Again, the answer is no. You remain fully human, fully equipped with the capacity that makes you valuable. The failure or criticism may provide useful information about your actions, but it says nothing about your fundamental worth. This test prevents you from the twin errors: believing success makes you worthy and believing failure makes you worthless. Both are false. Worth is constant. Circumstances vary. Practice distinguishing between them. Over time, you will naturally perform this test in your mind, and you will find that external events lose their power to inflate or deflate your sense of worth. This practice separates worth, which is constant, from fortune, which is variable, training you to stop confusing them. Once daily, ideally in a quiet moment, contemplate this truth. Every human being possesses the same rational nature that makes you valuable. The homeless person, the billionaire, the criminal, the saint, all possess this same capacity. This is not about excusing wrong action. Actions can be good or bad, wise or foolish. We should praise good actions and condemn bad ones. But the essential worth of the person remains constant because it is based on nature, not on behavior. When you truly grasp this, several things happen. First, you stop inflating your worth by comparison. If you and others share the same essential worth, comparison becomes irrelevant to the question of value. Second, you stop deflating your worth through shame. Whatever you have done wrong, you have not lost your rational nature or your capacity for virtue. You can always choose differently tomorrow. Third, you develop compassion for others and yourself, recognizing that all humans are engaged in the same struggle to develop their rational nature into wisdom. Practice seeing others this way. When you encounter someone whose circumstances are very different from yours, remind yourself, this person has the same source of worth I have, the rational capacity. Their circumstances differ, but their fundamental value is equal to mine. This is humbling when you meet someone less fortunate, because you recognize that your advantages are gifts of fortune, not proofs of superiority. This is also dignifying when you meet someone more fortunate, because you recognize that their advantages do not make them more worthy, only more comfortable. This meditation cultivates both humility and dignity simultaneously, which is the mark of true wisdom. Each morning, choose one aspect of virtue to practice that day. Choose wisdom, or justice, or courage, or self-control. Set the intention, today, I will cultivate this virtue in my choices. Then, throughout the day, look for opportunities to exercise this virtue, not to prove your worth, you already have worth, but to develop your rational capacity, which is the highest form of human activity. When you choose wisely, despite temptation to choose foolishly, you are exercising your rational nature. When you choose justly, despite incentive to act selfishly, you are developing your humanity. When you choose courageously despite fear, when you choose self-control despite impulse, you are becoming what you already are in potential, a rational being, acting rationally. This is not about achievement. You are not earning worth through virtuous action. You are expressing the worth you already possess. Virtue is the natural activity of your rational nature, just as swimming is the natural activity of a fish. The fish does not become a fish by swimming. It swims because it is a fish. You do not become worthy by acting virtuously. You act virtuously because you are a worthy, rational being. At day's end, review not whether you succeeded or failed, but whether you tried. The effort itself is virtue in action, regardless of outcome. This practice shifts focus from proving worth through achievement to expressing worth through virtue, which is its natural expression. Before sleep, express gratitude for your rational nature. Not gratitude that you are better than others, you are not, but gratitude that you possess the capacity that makes human life worthwhile. Say something like this: I am grateful that I can think, that I can choose, that I can grow in wisdom. I am grateful that my worth is not dependent on fortune's gifts. I am grateful that I have everything necessary within myself to live well. This is not arrogance. It is recognition of what you have been given by nature. You did not earn your rational capacity. It is a gift of being human. But you can develop it, and you can be grateful for it. This practice counters the natural human tendency to focus on what you lack rather than what you possess. You have been given the most valuable thing a human can have, the capacity for reason and virtue. This is enough. This is more than enough. This is everything. Gratitude reinforces recognition of what you already possess, creating contentment based on reality rather than illusion. These practices are simple but not easy. They require daily attention. But if you persist in them, something will shift in you. The constant anxiety about being enough will fade. You will see yourself more clearly, not as a project to be completed, but as a rational being already possessed of everything necessary for worth. And in that recognition, you will find the peace that has eluded you for so long. You came to this conversation believing you were not enough. I have shown you that this belief is based on a fundamental error, the error of seeking worth in external things that cannot provide it. Your worth does not come from your achievements, your possessions, your appearance, your status, or others' opinions. These things may be preferable, but they are not essential to your value as a human being. They can be gained and lost, but your worth remains constant because it is based on something that cannot be taken from you, your rational nature. You possess right now, in this very moment, the capacity to observe, to reason, to choose. This is what makes you human. This is what makes you valuable. You had this capacity before you achieved anything, and you will have it if you lose everything. It is the one stable thing in an unstable world. The question was never, am I enough? You are enough. You have always been enough. You always will be enough. The question is, will I recognize my worth, or will I continue to seek it where it cannot be found? I have shown you where to look within at your rational nature. I have given you practices to train yourself to see this truth daily. The rest is up to you. You can continue measuring yourself by external standards and remain forever anxious. Or you can recognize your intrinsic worth and find peace. This is not merely philosophy. This is the foundation of a life well lived. When you know your worth is internal and stable, you face all of life differently. Success does not intoxicate you. Failure does not crush you. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not deflate you. You remain yourself through all changes of fortune, steady, rational, free. This is what I want for you. Not happiness in circumstances, which is fleeting, but peace in yourself, which is lasting. Not success in the world's eyes, which is uncertain, but virtue in your own character, which is within your control. You are enough. Say it until you believe it. Practice it until you live it, and when you finally see it clearly, when you recognize that you have always possessed everything necessary for worth, you will wonder how you ever believed otherwise. If these words have resonated with you, if you see the truth in what I have shared, I ask 3 simple things. First, subscribe to this channel. I have much more wisdom to share with you, wisdom about living well, about facing difficulty, about cultivating tranquility. Let this not be our last conversation. Second, if this message helped you see yourself differently, let me know by leaving a like. It helps others who need to hear this find their way here. Third, and most importantly, tell me in the comments, what external thing have you been using to measure your worth? And what will you do differently tomorrow? I read your words, and I learn from your struggles. Share with me, and share with this community of people who are walking the same path toward wisdom. Remember, you are already enough. Now live like it.